Welcome back to the Giant Rugby League show. Something a little bit different today. Due to work and personal circumstances, we've not got a chance to be recording a podcast with myself and Nathan, so you got to put up with me for today's short clip. I'll be going through kind of the Challenge Cup results over the weekend, Super League news, and then we'll look ahead to the fixtures this coming weekend. Yes, so we'll get started straight away. Challenge Cup weekend, kind of results that everybody was expecting, really. I'd imagine so. Anyway, I don't think there were any real surprises. I think maybe the Wigan game was closer than people probably thought, but yeah, I think overall results went as expected. St Helens. A comfortable victory over Catalan. Paul Rowley seems to have got the guys ticking now, especially with the amount of injuries they've got. I'd say to get the last two results they've got, obviously beating Wigan and then beating Catalan in the Challenge Cup. I think two real strong results, two results that can kind of take themselves forward and see where things are going. Now they're into a Challenge Cup semi-final. I think you'd be pretty crazy to kind of bet against Paul Rowley. He's an experienced coach. He knows how to win games and he knows how to get the best out of players. And he's obviously doing that with St Helens at the moment, especially with the amount of injuries they've got. And then obviously Hull KR beating York Knights 48-10 it was in the end. Comfortable victory. I think they're starting to get up and running now, Hull KR. They're starting to climb that table, aren't they? Especially after kind of the poor start they had. They're starting to pick up those results, and I think York are definitely one of those sides that are dropping off slightly now. So I think York are going to be down there. I don't think they've not got the strength in numbers. So when they are missing a few players, which they are doing now, they've not really got the guys to come in, which is what you expect with the promoted sides. Warrington, pretty routine victory over Lee. I did watch that game pretty closely. I can't remember now who was on co-coms on that game, but he did a really good job. I think he was an a player that's just retired or something like that. But yeah, another player that's kind of gone into commentating, and I think he did a really good job. It's just his name slipped my mind at the moment. But yeah, I mean, another week where Lee go without a victory. I think the pressure's starting to mount now. They did have a few players returning from injury, but I think Amaya Hanley's picked up another injury, so he's going to be back out again. But yeah, I think they will pick up now. They've got players coming back as their game time increases. I think Lee will definitely start to pick up the table and improve as the season goes along. But yeah, they've had a tough start to say the least, especially with the injuries they've had and results that have not gone their way. And then probably the most interesting game over the weekend was the Wigan-Wakefield game, especially with the kerfuffle they had on the floor, which has led to a few players getting banned. But yeah, I mean, Wigan, they got themselves through it. Not as easy as probably people may have thought, but well, not as easy as I thought. I thought they'd beat Wakefield pretty convincingly, but yeah, they got through in the end. They've got through to another Challenge Cup semi-final, riding high in the league, but yeah, we'll see how those players that are banned, how that affects them moving forward. So yeah, I mean, your semi-finals, you've now got St Helens against Wigan. Tasty game that, I think. Yeah, like I say, I think it's pretty crazy to back against St Helens at the moment. I think Paul Rowley's he's got them guys ticking, and obviously they've just beaten Wigan in the derby, so we'll see how that one pans out. But I think it'd be pretty stupid to back against St Helens there, and I think that'll be a close game. And then Warrington Hull KR, which I think by the time the semi-finals come around, I think Hull KR will have picked up a couple of more victories by then. But Warrington, they're flying high and they're getting the job done. And I think probably what the most pleasing thing for Sam Burgess was at the weekend against Lee is I don't think Warrington particularly had their best game. I don't think they will say they played well at all, but again, when you're not playing well and you're picking up victories, I think that's a pretty key to success. Is that, and I think as the season goes along, and they can keep picking up victories when they're not playing well, it shows signs of a side that's going to be up there and looking for silverware, really. So yeah, that covers the Challenge Cup weekend. We'll kind of look at other Super League news now. As announced today, Harry Newman's gone out on loan to Hull FC, which is a week-on-week loan. Interesting one, that. I'm not sure. I mean, I can kind of get it from Leeds' side in terms of they need him to. They probably want him to be playing games, and when it is a week-by-week loan, it is pretty low risk. But in terms of Hull FC's side on that, I think they've got a lot more important positions than centre to be looking at the moment, to be improving. I think fullbacks are a massive one for them. They need somebody in there to give them a bit of bite going forward. Is Price ever going to get back to where he was? Probably not now, after a couple of big injuries. So it's going to take some turnaround for him to come back and be back firing. So yeah, in terms of fullback and the forwards, they just look very light at the moment. And to go out there and get a centre, I think that's probably a position that isn't kind of high on their agenda at the moment, and probably a position that they need, that's probably lower down on the pecking order in terms of getting people in. So bit of a strange one, but yeah, Leeds have gone and got one of their players that's on the fringes of their 17. He's going out and he's getting some game time, which is no harm for him. And obviously, with him leaving at the end of the season, he wants to keep playing. He don't want to be sat around in the changing rooms every week. Sticking on Hull FC, Cartwright, he's come out with some strong statements in his press conference. He's not happy about that. He's obviously not happy about the fact that they've come out and announced that he's leaving. I don't think he's obviously not on board with that decision, and he's not happy about it. But yeah, a bit of a strange one, really, that at Hull FC, because obviously last week most journalists were announcing that McNamara's over the line. It's a done deal, which that seems to have gone a little bit quiet now. So whether that's as close as people think, I'm not too sure. But yeah, a bit of a strange season. It's going to be one of those years now for Hull FC where I think it's just going to be a nothing season. It's not really going to go anywhere. They're not really going to have much to play for. And is it one of them where Hull FC fans are just going to be sat around waiting for, right, we'll wait for next year in terms of recruitment, in terms of head coach, and just another nothing season, which I think at the start of the season, a lot of people, a lot of journalists, a lot of fans out there were expecting Hull FC to be up there. So yeah, probably not what the fans are looking for right now. But yeah, that leads us on to kind of the coaching scenario at the moment. Obviously, the Giants haven't got anybody in the door yet. I know last week they had some interviews last week, first round interviews last week. So you'd imagine they'll be on second round now, and they'll start to cut the shortlist down to who they're lining up. So yeah, I'm hoping in the next week or so we'll have something over the line, because you've got Catalan now looking for a new coach with Joel Tompkins leaving. You've got Hull FC obviously looking for a new coach, what we've just talked about, and then Hull KR are also looking, but I think Willie Peters will be not Willie Peters, Ian Watson will be the man that will go in that door next season. So I kind of count Hull KR out of that, but yeah, Catalan, Hull FC, and the Giants all looking for three coaches pretty much ASAP, really. So yeah, I'd like to see the Giants get the business done pretty early. Not pretty early, but pretty soon. But I think overall, obviously, the Giants head coach position, it's a huge appointment for the club moving forward. I think there's no getting away from the fact that the past 3-4 seasons, as Watson tailed off and Robbo's tenure, they've not gone to plan, and the Giants haven't gone forward. We've gone backwards as a club, definitely on the field. Off the field, obviously, they're trying to progress and they're trying to push it forward. But when you're not progressing on the field, you're always going to limit yourselves off the field. So getting this appointments right is huge. And we've got a lot of players that are off contract at the end of the year. You've got the likes of Adam Clune, Swift, Kieran Rush, Matty English. You've got players like that, and I think there's 7 or 8 players that are in and around that first team 17-man squad most weeks that are off contract at the end of the year, which again, it's another reason why we need this appointment to be right, because we need to get his recruitment sorted early for next season. You can't be going into the second half of the season, the last quarter of the season, still not sorting our recruitment out. That's a huge thing for me. If the Giants are going to move forward, that recruitment needs to be right. We need to make sure we've got players over the line secured for next year, and it's again another sign of going in the right direction with the recruitment and the players that we are bringing in. And then obviously we're just look at the bands really. The Wakefield Wigan game. Some big bands there, to be honest. I think Harry Smith's a huge one for Wigan, especially while they've not got Bevan French in there. He obviously controls them a lot. So yeah, it's a huge ban, that 3 weeks. I'm interested to see how they'll line up this weekend and moving forward while he's out. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. And then obviously Walters has got a ban, and the Wake player has got a ban as well. To be honest, for me, it was a bit of a nothing incident, really. I still think 10 years ago that had have happened, and everybody had just cracked on after it, and it had gone. No one would have worried about it the next week. But yeah, I think we're probably the whole match review panel at the end of the week. I think they just like to get involved a bit too much for me. And people watch rugby league because it's a tough man's sport. It's scrappy. It's what you want to see. Bit of blood, proper tackles. It's not like football where people are dancing around like fairies. So we want to make sure we don't move away from that too much, because for me that's a pretty important part of Super League. Is being able to watch that tough tackling, blood, sweat, guts kind of thing, rugby. That's what I want to watch, and I imagine a lot of people that do watch rugby league, that's why they watch it, and they don't watch football on a weekend. And then the England head coach, some big interviews this week. Everybody seems to have been lined up for first stage interviews on that job as well. For me, I think now looking at it, obviously we're kind of looking at it short term, really. We're looking at who's going to have a positive impact quickly. And for me, I'd be going down the Burgess and McNamara route at this moment in time. I think Warrington were a poor side last year. There's no getting away from it. They were really poor. McNamara's come in and he's had a positive impact straight away. They've completely changed. They've changed how they're playing. They changed how they look on the pitch, and obviously the results have changed massively, very quickly. For me, anybody else that you're bringing in on short term, like Brad Arthur, I love Brad Arthur as a coach. I speak very highly of him on the podcast, and I think he would do a fantastic job long term. Short term, I think we need somebody who's, with McNamara and Burgess, you've got that youth. You've also got that very experienced coach as well. They can obviously, but they've bounced off each other really well at Warrington, and it just shows by how they're improving and kind of how they're playing at the moment. So for me, that's the route that I'd go down. In the short term, I'd say, look, bring them in until the end of the World Cup, see how the World Cup goes, and then we assess as options then. I think that's probably the way forward. And then one signing news, which I think is a good signing, good pickup for Castleford for next year, is Tyler Dupree from Toulouse. I think there's no getting away from it. The position that Castleford are struggling at the moment is the forwards. They're having no real impact in games. I watched them against Wakefield last week in the rivals round. I think that's why they lost the game. They just got absolutely bullied in the forwards. They couldn't make any ground, and when Wakey running into them, they were just knocking them down like 10-pin bowling. So yeah, I think that's a big signing for Cass moving forward. I think it's something they needed. And I think the fans can get behind that signing. I think it's a good pickup, and they've got it done early, which again is a good piece of business. So we'll move on now. Final bit really. We'll just look at this weekend's fixtures. Thursday night, Hull FC against St Helens. I think it's a huge game this for Hull FC. They're really starting to tail off now. They need 2 points, but St Helens are firing, and yeah, I think St Helens travelling over to Hull FC. I think it's got appetite to be a bit of a tasty game, and a good game to watch. Just hope Hull FC can put in a performance really and kind of make it into a good game. Otherwise, I think St Helens run all over them if they're not at it. And with the Cartwright situation, you just don't know how that's going to go. But I've got a feeling that players are a bit peed off about how this has happened and they're not too pleased about it. So I fancy him to put in a bit of a performance. But again, I think with the players they've got missing, I can't see anything else than a St Helens win. Hull KR travel over to Toulouse on Friday. Again, I think Hull KR will come out victorious in that. I think they're starting to pick up now. And I think that'll be a fairly routine victory. But again, Toulouse, I think them playing at home is where they are going to pick up victories. But against Hull KR is probably not a fixture where I'd have them down to win. The Giants are at home to Leeds on Friday night, which for me should be a good game. To be honest, I think we've had a week off. For players to have rest and recover, and we've won 2 on the trot. So yeah, I think we're in with a shout in this game, and I like to think we have got a shout on this one. Again, Leeds, really good side. Brad Arthur, fantastic coach, exactly the kind of coach I love to watch. I think he's really changed Leeds around. And I think it'll be a tough game now. It'll be a really tough game for the Giants to come out victorious. But I've just got this sneaky feeling that the 2 points will be staying in Fartown that Friday night. And fingers crossed they do. And hopefully we'll have. I think Houseall's not far off returning now, so I think if we can get him back, obviously Zenon and Wrench picked up a couple of knocks last game and went off injured. So yeah, hopefully if they're not back, hopefully Houseall returns, and I think Joe Greenwood's back in full training. So yeah, the Giants it's changed, hasn't it, over the last few weeks. Things are a lot more positive now, and hopefully things can start heading in the right direction. Probably the pick of Friday's game for me, even though I am a Giants fan, is the York at home to Lee. I think if Lee are going to get 2 points this weekend, I think this probably be the opposition that they pick to play. I think York have really tailed off when we played them 2 weeks ago. They looked poor. They've just been battered by Hull KR. I think if Lee are going to go and get 2 points, this is where they need to be doing it. So yeah, I think it'll be a close game. I don't think it'll be any walkover because I just don't think Lee are in good enough form to walk over anybody at the moment. But yeah, I do fancy Lee in this one. I fancy Lee to pick up the 2 points. Just kind of after watching York for the last couple of weeks, I just think they've tailed off massively, and they've just not got the strength in numbers. So I'm gonna go for Lee to beat York at York on Friday night. But yeah, it's going to be a close game, and I think it could go either way. Saturday's fixtures now: Wakefield at home to Bradford. I think Wakefield win this game. Again, Bradford, they've had a few injuries, few knocks. And Wakefield are really look like they're starting to pick up now. They look like a different side to kind of when we played them at the start of the season. They look like they're ticking. Cass, they battered them. Wigan, they drove them really close. And some people will see them as being a bit unlucky not to come out victorious in that game. So yeah, I'm gonna go Wigan on that. I think it's be a fairly routine victory. And then Saturday night game, Catalan at home to Warrington. Again, I think Warrington beat them. I just think they just show real signs this year. Warrington have been that side that can get over the line, whether they play good or bad. And Catalan are just too up and down at the moment. I think kind of, yeah, at home they do pick up victories at home, but I think the way Warrington are playing at the moment, I can't see anything else other than a Warrington victory. Then Sunday's game now, Wigan at home to Castleford. Yeah, I think it's a straightforward one to call that. Wigan don't lose that game. I think even with Harry Smith out, I think they've got enough. I don't think Castleford will be up to it at all. Pitch is a lot bigger than it is at Wigan, with it being a football pitch. And yeah, I don't see how Cass can come out and all of a sudden change as a side. Yeah, they've looked really poor this season, and yeah, they've got a couple of players that have come in and done well, but the majority of the signings that have come in have been disappointing, to say the least. Ryan Carr, as a coach, has come out and said that. He's saying how disappointed he is. He's not bothered about tearing players' contracts up. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And yeah, I think if they get hammered again by Wigan, I think it'll be an interesting one to watch out for next week to see what happens at Castleford. Well, that rounds up this week's show, the Giant Rugby League show. Apologies, we're not in the usual podcast setup, and we've not got Nathan here this week. But yeah, we'll be back next week as normal. Service will be resumed. But don't forget to like and subscribe and show some support. It will be massively appreciated. And fingers crossed for 2 points for the Giants on Friday night. Cheers, guys.